I feel as though one of, if not the greatest struggle for me and for many others is living life in order to be better than the other people and my perception of other people. So I'll look at, and it is legitimately from every area of life. So it can be another father, it can be another pastor, it can be another husband, it can just be another person, just someone at the gym, anybody. And you just see how they're doing it, and you see these snapshots of their life, and you're thinking, man, I suck. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
And I think that's the worst part of comparison is you don't see somebody who's doing better than you. At least your perception is that, and it doesn't make you think, oh, that's so great for them. If I do this, this, and this, I'll get closer to where they are. It's normally you see it and you're like, man, I suck. Yeah. So it's like the opposite. Instead of encouraging you to improve in what area you're self-conscious in, or you think you're lesser than, which would be great. Yeah. Most of the time, the comparison just is like, oh, yeah, I'm not good enough, and I'm not as good as this person, and so I might as well just give up.
Yeah. And it's so much the lies in your head. I mean, and it happens all the time. Like, I am just always fighting this, like every minute of every day, it seems like. Earlier, you posted like a little Instagram story of you playing with Henry today. Yeah. It was a beautiful moment. Yeah. I felt guilty that I didn't spend that time with Titus this morning.
Oh, I can never post again.
No, please continue the post. But that's just how my mind works. Yeah. And like, I know I know that it's just comparison, and I know that I have moments where I play with Titus too. Yeah. But it's just that constant thing that my mind is telling me. What area of life do you experience it the most?
Comparison?
Yeah.
I had it in sports a little bit when I was younger because I was a competitive kid. My older brother, Ben, probably all the time. Ben says he listens to these, every single one. So what's up? What's up, Ben?
Hey, Ben. Thanks for listening, man.
How you doing, buddy? Oh, if you don't text me and say, great podcast, I heard you say my name.
Know it's a lie.
I'm going to know you have not been listening.
I haven't been listening.
But for most of my life, it was always like, Ben's faster than me, Ben's stronger than me, Ben's cooler than me, Ben's
better looking than you.
Well, that's never been the case. No, just jokes. But he went to the Navy, and he's like a senior chief now, which is like a really high position in the military, in the Navy. So it's just like, man, he's such an achiever. Like, he just gets it done. And I was the kid where it's like I was, fly by the seat of my pants. And I was just like, oh, this sounds fun. Let me go try that. And I was just like very lackadaisical with stuff. Yeah. So I was always jealous and would compare his like drive to like achieve. Now it's definitely gyms and people in the athletic / motivation field / like nutrition and fitness, basically. So if I see other gyms in the area post about classes that they've had, and here's the thing about comparison too, especially on social media, and we know this, but it doesn't matter. We know that people are posting the best of the best of their day, of their experiences. Yeah. A gym is not going to post an empty class and say, oh man, nobody came today. Yeah. They're going to post the full class that they're like, hey, look at all these people here, right? But the empty classes happen. Yeah. So you're comparing your day, which may or may not be going well, to somebody else's best part of their day. Yeah. Like me with Henry is like, that was 5 minutes. Yeah. Right. And you're like, oh, he's always just playing with Henry. It's like, that was like maybe 5 minutes. Yeah. Right. And it's like, I was like, Shreen, this is fun. Record it quick. Yeah. So, but yeah, when I actually unfollowed a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook, like different fitness people and gyms in the area, because every time I would see it, I would have comparison and I would feel bad about myself. Yeah. I'm not doing enough. Yeah. And I would feel fine before I saw it. And then I'd see it and I'd be like, oh, I suck. I'm not doing enough. I might as well just quit. These other gyms are better than me. This other person is doing way more work than I am in this field. Yeah. And they're getting the reach of all these people. It's like, it's just not healthy or beneficial. Yeah. So,
and it's lies. I mean, it's
for the most part. Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, the fact that this person is doing something more important than you, or doing something, I mean, even if it's another gym, it's still comparing apples and oranges. Mm-hmm. Like, you guys aren't trying to accomplish the same thing.
Right.
So that's the big thing that I've wrestled with and am zoning in on more and more. So, going back to Ben, if it's all right if I go back.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it must be a normal thing, because my biggest comparison was with my brother growing up.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common.
Oh my word. My brother, Justin, he can do anything. He could do anything he wanted, and he would do amazing at it. Mm-hmm. He's just that kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And he'd be the best one on the field, on the court, on the stage. He'd be the best one up there.
Yeah.
He got ridiculous opportunities that opened up because of. So, a quick story. He went to Moody Bible Institute, and I'm probably not telling this story exactly how it happened, but I'm telling it how a jealous brother interpreted the story.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
He was at Moody Bible Institute, and Casting Crowns, a really well-known Christian band, was coming to do a show, but they were running late to do a show there. So the organizers of the event did a competition where they had people come up and sing Casting Crown songs, and they voted on a winner. My brother has an incredible voice. He was one of the people that they chose from this huge crowd from Casting Crown. So he came up and he sang like "Who Am I" or something in front of this huge crowd of people, and he was voted the winner of this.
Nice.
And Casting Crowns was still running late, so they asked him to run back to his dorm room, grab his guitar, and lead this massive crowd of people in worship.
Wow.
So he opened up for Casting Crowns. Like, wow. These are just the opportunities that he gets, and he deserves every single one of them. But he's written books, preached at big conferences, is pastoring a growing church and an awesome church in Guatemala. And so he does so many cool stuff. So growing up and in ministry and everything like that, I was constantly comparing myself to him and what I was producing to what he produced. And it's not a comparison. We produce very different looking things. But what I realized is that, like, I could never be Justin. I can't be Justin. Right. As much as I wanted to do what Justin does, I do not have that skill set and those abilities to do what Justin does. But what I create is different. And I'm sure Justin could do what I create, but it's what I was gifted to do. Yeah. And so I'm able to do it in the way that I can do it. And he's so good about encouraging me and everything like that. I love my brother. But it was really hard growing up. I mean, he went to Moody Bible Institute. I went to Moody Bible Institute. He worked at Starbucks. I worked at Starbucks. He worked at a specific church. I worked at that same church underneath him. And so it was just, I was constantly in his footsteps, always comparing. Yeah. And so there was this element of why am I not able to do what he's doing? And then doubting myself and questioning myself. And what I'm having to tell myself again is that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I'm a different person than Justin.
Right.
And my abilities and my giftings are perfect for where I'm at and for what God gave me the opportunity to participate in. And that's where I can find joy. Like, Justin wouldn't be pastoring a small church, probably because it would grow up to be a huge church in a matter of time. But God gave me the opportunity to do this and to do it well, I think. But then that comparison goes on, just like you said, to other churches in the area that are growing, that are doing exciting things, and comparing it to our small church. And it's just this reminder that, like, we are not those things. That although we are all churches, we have different philosophies, different missional focuses. And so let me focus on me and what I'm doing, instead of just comparing it to what another church has been called to do. But that's hard.
Dude, it's really tough. It's really tough. I think it's one of the hardest things to do, especially if you struggle with it, because however the human brain is programmed, I think we look for the negative a lot of times. as opposed to it takes practice to look for the positive.
Yeah.
So when you're comparing yourself,
I said that too.
Comparisizing.
Like comparisonization is just really difficult.
It's difficult. But I think back to what we talked about last time with me and like the gym, and I'll like stress with gym members is if somebody who hasn't showed up for a while or somebody's been struggling with things, I'll focus on that so much more so than the person who's been consistent for months or years and is crushing it and doing a great job and being like, wow, like I didn't do it. They put the work in, but I helped facilitate this person to achieve these things, you know, and that's a great thing. Yeah. But I'm comparing to something super negative. Yeah. But yeah.
And the hard part is if you try to do what that other gym is doing, you might not do it as well because it's not you.
Right. And I think that's something that we're talking about with Justin is like, and I have to do with myself and other gym owners and fitness people is do it yourself. Like be the best version of you that you can be because there is only one you. I heard a relationship person talking one time about you shouldn't get in a relationship with somebody that's like you because you already exist. Yeah. Like you don't need another you in your life. Like you should just be you because you want to be with somebody who compliments you. Yeah. You know,
do you feel like Shireen is different than you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. We are yin and yang. Yeah. It's great. It's fantastic.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah. Salt and pepper. That's right. Another Dr. DeMartini, he's a speaker guy. He talks about how basically, and it's kind of a joke, but it's also true, is like you want to marry somebody who enjoys doing the things that you hate to do. Right? So it's like, if someone hates doing dishes, but the other person finds it calming and enjoyable and rewarding to get the dishes done. Like that's the person you want to be with. Yeah. Someone sucks or hates cooking. The other person should probably be good at it. Yeah. You know, someone's really good at the finances and the budgeting. The other person might be really bad at it. But it's like you want to find a complement strengths to your weaknesses and vice versa. Which makes sense. Yeah. But I don't know how we got into that. Comparison.
Yeah, you're your own person.
Yeah, just be yourself. And it also goes back to what I said of talking to Shireen and her kind of giving me permission to be like, I want you to be you because that's what I fell in love with. Yeah. And I think that just reduces so much stress and anxiety and all these things when we allow ourselves to just be ourselves. And sometimes we put on a facade or a mask for so long that it takes a little bit of work to figure out who you are again. When you decide like, okay, what does Mark do in this situation? Not what does Mark do because what does he think everyone else wants to see him do?
Oh man, preach.
What does Mark do? Yeah. What would I do in that situation? Then let the chips fall where they may. Yeah.
And realize that it might not be the same thing that other people do.
Well, and that's okay. That's not just okay. That's important.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's important to be yourself and to be different from the people you're comparing. I did it again. You're comparing yourself. I think it's because comparing yourself.
Maybe. Comparison too.
Comparison.
Is that a word?
Comparison. I don't think that's a word. Comparisonizing. Anyways, we both have degrees.
What's the word?
Comparing.
Compare, but what's the ism?
Comparing.
Comparison. It's not comparison. Comparisism. It's not comparison.
I don't think there is an ism with compare. Is there? Is there an ism?
I struggle with comparing. You're so dumb right now.
You need some sleep, brother.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think there's an ism word for it.
Comparisism. That's a word, isn't it? Comparisism?
It just sounds dumb.
It sounds really weird
silly.
now.
Comparisism.
I struggle with comparisism.
I would say I struggle with comparing myself to others. That's what
that takes way too much time.
That's too many syllables.
Who has that much time?
Anyways, so how do you think we work on it? Like, what's the steady fix to comparing yourself?
So I think it's being comfortable with who you are, and I mean that's a big ask.
Yeah, it's a big step.
Comfortable with who you are, but. I mean, I know for me, like I was always self-conscious about everything I did because I was convinced people were thinking, oh, there's a better way of doing it. Even if it's not the Mark way of doing it, there's a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
And so I was just super self-conscious. And it took, I mean, fortunately for me, like it took time to like see the results of my decisions and be like, oh, those were good decisions.
Yeah.
Even if they were just Mark decisions. Oh, okay. That did work out how I assumed it was going to work out. And I was able to develop a little bit of confidence in who I was and my wisdom, I guess, and kind of my decision making and my thought processes. But that's hard to do, to become comfortable and confident in who you are instead of just living like everybody else. Because finding an identity, like that is one of the hardest things we do in life.
I think it's part of your purpose in life is to keep continuing to try to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it is a lifelong process. I don't think you ever fully have a grasp on it.
Yeah. And nor does it stay the same, I don't think.
Yeah, you're always growing and changing.
Yeah. But I mean, we've talked before about like how it as early as like middle school, even younger, like that struggle to find who you are.
Yeah.
And your purpose and where you add value.
And being okay and comfortable with people not liking that.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a big part of it.
Yeah.
Is you want to mold to the group and you also want people to like you.
So that's one of the hardest parts that I experience pastoring, because with churches, especially like non-denom evangelical churches, the main metric that many people use for success is attendance. And if you are growing numerically, then you're doing well. Whereas like the main question I get asked from grandparents, relatives, friends as to how are things going? Are you growing? And that's the main metric that's used. That's never been my main metric. It's always been a challenge for me, because even though it's not my main metric, I know it's everybody else's metric as to whether they're going to view me as successful and valuable. Yeah. So that's the area in which it's a metric for me, not as if I'm growing so I'm doing good. It's I'm growing so other people think I'm doing good. Yeah. But wrestling with like what makes me a healthy pastor, what makes our church healthy, is not necessarily growing by leaps and bounds and having a huge church. And so when I come to terms with the fact that other people aren't going to think I'm doing well, but that doesn't mean I'm not doing well. That is a big step and a big hill to get over.
That's huge. That's deep.
And so my uncle, who's also a pastor, he told me that success as a pastor is faithfulness. And so just to remain faithful. And so that's been a new metric of mine, is just to continue on. Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it. Joe Dirt. Oh, okay. Another movie you need to add to your list.